What's up, guys? How we doing? We're back. Tell everyone that this is happening. Instagram. Where's Andy? No. Still no Andy. What's up, guys? There we go. Instagram, do your job. Algorithm, work. There we go, Andy. Yeah. Come on, pal. You can do it. There we go.
Is this the page that you're not shadow banned on?
What happened?
Are we getting shadow banned?
No, I'm trying to not be shadow banned. So that's why we're here. Way more people see it on this page than on the other page. How we doing, pal?
Well, Toddy, huh?
No. That's a nice little Widow Jane.
Widow Jane, it's a little sipper.
Yeah, it is. It's my favorite. This is actually 13-year aged. It's one of their nicer ones. For the State of the Union. What do you got there?
Coffee.
I'm
trying to survive, man. All my kids are sick.
Oh,
I
everyone's
had 100 degree fever all day. I'm trying to survive.
They all right?
Huh?
They all right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. Frankie got immunization last weekend, and she
gave it to everybody.
Yeah, I don't know. I think she got sick, but I think she picked some shit up with the doctor.
Oh,
and
that's the worst. That's the worst.
This is the first. I've had two fevers. I've had two fevers in literally the last 5 years.
Really?
Yeah, I never get a fever.
We got questions. Well, I got at least one. I'm checking to see if we got any more, but I don't think so. No, we got one good one.
My pec works.
Your pec works? Your pec's okay?
Yeah, it's
that's good.
Weird, man. It it hurt. The only pain I had training. What's up, Drew? Pain I had training was doing extensions. Not pain, but so I think it's bicep related.
It could be bicep. I mean, that makes more sense. Probably a little tendonitis.
Probably just not smart to hop in after a meet with all the changes going on, out of shape, stiff and heavy, and hydrated, not bloated anymore. Yeah. And do a set, do 10 reps for 315, 15 reps 275, and it's probably
a little silly. It's a little silly. It's okay. You survive.
Yeah, well, you live and learn.
That's okay. What else going on? Anything?
Nothing.
Squat look good.
Yeah. I still get scared, Emily.
Having a pec go is not a fun ordeal. I would not recommend.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I was more worried taking 265 close grip last week than I was taking 865 with a torn hamstring.
Yeah. After I tore my hamstring, it was easier to come back and train than it was after my pec.
Yeah.
But my pec was worse though, so I guess that makes sense.
Well, you have full rupture, right?
My pec, yeah. My titty was all the way over here.
You could see it roll up.
I watched it
in a video. Or?
No, I want real time. That was crazy shit I've ever seen. It went on the descent of the second rep, and Josh, not Big Josh, other Josh,
yeah, military
Josh, Officer Josh. He pulled it off of me, and when I racked it, my arm was still on the bar, my hand was still wrapped around the bar, and when I let go, I watched it retract.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you go to the hospital?
Yeah. I sat up and I was like, we got to go to the hospital.
It was 455, wasn't it?
And it was 4.25, maybe.
That's when you were
No,
trying
it's
to,
like 425.
you were trying to bench 500 raw.
No, that was after that meet. I had already benched 500 raw. That was post meet. That was being stupid. So, cheers to not being stupid anymore.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, so question.
All right. So the question that we got, it was actually from Aaron, who's not a lifter at all, but thought that other lifters would want to know this question, would want to know the answer. And it is if there is something that you could go back and tell yourself when you started lifting that would have helped you if you knew it sooner, what would it be?
That's a good question.
I thought it was a good question, and I felt like we could probably talk about that for a while.
Yeah, you can go first.
I thought of two things, so I'll give you one, and then
I got a couple things too.
I got a couple. So the first one that I would have liked to have known, or just would have liked to have been made aware of, is that no matter how strong you are or how far along you think you are, there's always going to be more, and you're always going to want more. So you have to understand that it's a marathon, not a sprint. And we've said that we say that all the time.
Everybody says that, yeah. But
I think
few people get it though.
Few people get it, but I think it's easier to see being around and being involved in the sport and just lifting for as long as we have at this point. I think it would have been nice to know that, but I don't think you know that until you do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's as cliche as it is, like just the act of training correctly,
Right.
training consistently, training hard, managing variables outside of the gym that are conducive to long-term health and growth. Do that for 3 or 4 years and you'll be irrecognizable.
Right. Yeah. But then now do that for 10 years after that.
Yeah,
do it for 2 or 3 years.
You talk about like, the conversation you and I and Leah had where you decided to make it go back to basics and you put 110 pounds on a 1050 squat.
Yeah.
It's like, we think you should be doing this. Yeah. This is our case. All right, I'll give it a try. And like next thing you know, you squat 1160 like an empty barbell. Yeah.
And
it was you kind of went away from searching and just kind of said like, this is where my focus is going to go. This is how I'm going to attack this thing.
Yeah. And if someone would have told me, at this point, 14 years ago that I did my first meet, right? 2009 or 2007 was actually my first meet. So what's that?
16 years.
16 years ago. Like,
yeah,
that's like silly to say out loud.
Yeah.
But it would have been nice to know those things. Knowing what I know now, it would have been nice to know, have the whole toolbox 16 years ago. But that's not how things work.
It's really hard just to, kind of ping pong off your deal. Like it's really hard to not, and it's probably one of the things that I'm most proud about right now. It's really hard to not get caught up in this. Well, in this, like when I squat 500, I'll be happy. When I squat 600, I'll be happy. When I bench 3 plates, when I bench 4 plates, when I bench 5 plates. And like doing those things is a reflection collection of proper effort, properly executed with a proper plan.
Correct.
And healthy. And like, when I look back at my career, when I made the biggest gains is when I was like able just to kind of go, okay, so I'm not going to focus on weight on the bar as much. I'm going to focus on just being a better lifter.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, because for me, and this is not a flex, I guess that's the word that people use. Like, I have a sickness in my head. I can't not train. Like, I
Right.
train
Like,
when I
even if you weren't competing, you would still be training.
yeah, and even now, like, I couldn't take time. Like, I've got 101-degree fever, and if I have 101-degree fever, at minimum, I'm going to go in tomorrow and find a way to get through my speed squats, find a way to get a deadlift in, and find a way to do, even if I adjust my accessories, like I might just march and do some band leg curls, but I will get a training. I will find a way to get better.
Yeah, 100%.
And with that being said, like, I don't have, but for me, it's not just the effort, because the effort's a given. For me, it's is it proper? Because I probably am less strong now than I should be because I've done too much for too long. I was in a perpetual state of overtraining. I was just like, well, I got to get this, I got to squat, and I got to deadlift, and I got to do good mornings, and I got to do this, and I got to do this, and I got to do this, and I got to be in the gym. It's like, when you look at that, it's more than you can recover from, and it's more than you can progress on. And so I think there's both ends of the spectrum. There's also people that need to do more. I got a kid, Cody, and it's like, his lifts, I mean, he's put 60 pounds on a squat, 40 pounds on his bench. I don't know what he's going to deadlift, but he just doesn't like to do accessories, and he just wouldn't do a second 2 days a week. So we just go and do max effort work, kind of stand around and act like he was doing accessories, and then leave. And I finally got him convinced to do accessories, and it's crazy. It's just like, it's like clockwork. Like, yeah, you're putting the effort where you need to put the effort. And the crazy thing is because, his nature might be to be lazy. He's trying to get more out of less. So he's just not going through the motions, but he's just doing his accessories, not banging his head against the wall till he gets bloody. Just, I've got extensions to do. I'm going to do some extensions, and I'm done. And then I'm going to progress and progress and progress. And it's like, it's crazy. So that would be my thing. I mean, marathon, not a sprint, is obviously the first thing. And thinking about not thinking week to week, not even really thinking month to month or cycle to cycle or meet to meet, thinking like 2 years to 2 years, because I'm taking weight, even getting into multiply after putting up an elite raw total and competing raw for 9 years. Like, I now do my opener I'm going to open above what I missed at my first meet. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, and that I've been competing in multiply for basically
3 years.
3 years, not even 2.5 years. Right. So it's like, if I can continue on that trajectory, I mean, where will I be in 3 or 4 years? I mean, if I'm healthy, probably, opening up with right around what I've squatted now and taking a run and taking 1,000 every time I compete, hopefully. Right.
That's the goal.
Everybody talks about, when are you going to squat 1,000? Like, when I know I'm going to squat it, not when it's just like this Hail Mary, that might hurt me or somebody else. Like, I don't need to jump from 2,200 to 2,400. Like, I'll be happy with 2,250 at the next meet, and then be happy with 2,300, because I want to own those totals.
Right.
And, like, it was a perfect example. Like, I did 2,100 at the Rick Lawrence in 2021, and it was like, I had a very good meet. And then the next year at the Lawrence, I had a terrible meet and did 22-23.
Right.
And I left some pounds out there 5 months later and did 2204, 2206. You know what I mean? So, like, I'm still waiting on that. There might come a perfect day where it's 2350, but that's, everything has to go right, and that's not powerlifting. But for me, it's like, it's pushing that floor up. And I think people miss on that. People want to push their ceiling up. They don't want to push their floor up. They want to talk to you about what could happen if everything goes right. But like for me, progression is going to be like, what can you do if you only get your openers and your openers are what they're supposed to be?
If you're going 3 for 9, what's that day look like?
Yeah. Is it good? Is it competitive?
Is it or is it not? Because
I mean, you can walk into any meet in the world except the WPO and be on the platform with your openers.
Right. Yeah, but I mean,
podium.
But obviously that's your basement. That's your ground level. But the higher you bring that up, the closer that gets to, like you're saying, to old PRs, to old meet numbers. Now you're talking about huge jumps in your strength in strength.
Yeah, and then it's like, okay, well, I hit a really good squat. I hit a very average second on bench, and then I pull what I need to pull to have a big PR total.
Right.
Like that's where powerlifting comes in. It's like, I had to take a back seat with my deadlift, and the grip's part of the issue, but the other part of the issue is it's like I progressed so fastly in my deadlift because my first meet I pulled 600, and then immediately, like I competed in I competed in October of 11, and then my goal was like I'm gonna pull. I pulled 6, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna pull 7 next October. It's like I've had 7 in my mind for so long that I eventually pulled it, but I rented it. I didn't own it.
Right.
If I was smart, I'd just pull 625, 615, 640, 660, 680. And now it's like I take the same deadlift opener at every single meet that I do, even though it's a year away, and it's because I got really greedy with it. And
right.
Now we're trying to address some things and going back through that. And then with bench, our bench is going through the roof, and it's just kind of because I've taken a back seat and just kind of said, like, I'm going to get bigger to cut my range of motion. I'm going to put solid muscle mass on in the right areas, and I'm going to learn how to work the shirt. And all my benches look great, and it's because my focus was just on being a better bencher. So
being a better lifter. Being a better lifter.
Right. And for me, what I wish is that I think where I hurt myself a lot was overreaching. And with the main lifts, I'm actually pretty good about it. Like a lot of times you'll see my main lift and go like, why did you take another one? But where I overreach a lot is like with my accessory movements. And I'm so focused. Like I did, like 3 weeks ago before the meet, I was doing tricep extensions with 215, like fairly strict, but I'm taking them to 3 or 4 inches above my forehead. And I just put like 155 on the other day and literally took it to like my eyebrows and cut my rest periods down and made sure that they were super controlled. And like I felt like I couldn't extend my arm for 3 days.
Right.
So what's a better workout? What's keeping me healthier? And what am I going to be able to progress on more? And what am I going to be able to pour more quality up to? And that's where like I think I really stumbled, was just pushing the accessories so hard and heavy and just wanting to be that guy that's like, I want to put all this weight on tricep extensions, or I want to handle all this weight. And it's not, at the end of the day, if it's not pushing your main lifts up, it's not doing you any good.
It's not doing you any justices, because maybe you can tricep extension 315, but if that's not helping your bench, who fucking cares?
That's exactly right. And for me, it's like, why would I not get the same level of muscular damage and growth with 100 pounds less wear and tear on my joints?
There you go.
The point of accessory movements is to force the muscle that you're trying to work to do the exercise. The point of the main lift is to organize your body motor units to go at a really fast level. And see where, okay, well, I lost my upper back, so I need more upper back. And then you figure something out for upper back that's going to help you gain that upper back, and then you retest, and that's the way that is supposed to work. And I think I got, really concerned with doing, maybe cutting range of motion or I bouncing I do board work and I'd bounce the ball off the boards. You don't know how much you hate that. But like in reality, it's not my shirt or bench. All it's doing is just saying like, yeah, I mean, I took 455 off a 2 board, but like, that's not, I didn't own it.
there's no carryover. There's not going to be any carryover for
No,
that
because I'm not squeezing
movement
the
to
muscle.
your bench.
I'm not
Right.
squeezing the muscles to do that. So I think that's where some of my stuff, you know. So I wish early in the process somebody would have slowed me down on accessory work, said like, cut your rest periods down, slow down, and really try and put the emphasis on the muscles and do the exercises that you need to put the emphasis on the muscles and get bigger and get those muscles stronger and do it correctly. Because I think if I would have done that, I think I'd have less wear and tear.
I like my golf tan.
It's a good one. How'd you play?
I shot what I shoot. We played 9. I shot a 46.
That's okay.
It's about right around what I've been shooting.
Punch it
so
around
far.
and keep it in play.
Yeah. Putter was a little bit better than it was.
Yeah.
So.
What's your other one?
The other one was, I actually have 2 more, but the other one that I want to talk about next is understanding that your progress isn't going to be linear.
No. Except for at the beginning.
Except for the beginning, but and we've had this conversation too. We've had this conversation where I squatted my first 1,000 in 2012 and didn't squat 1,000 again until 2015.
I remember squat 1,000. And
what? No, naked knee.
Naked knee.
Naked knee.
I got the video. Fresh off the press.
Naked knee. Naked knee 1,000. I had never taken 1,000 in the gym prior to that. That worked.
When was that? That was Rich Lack's meet up at Hofstra, wasn't it?
No, that was Rich Lack's meet down in South Jersey.
Oh, it was the Rumble.
That was the first South Jersey Rumble. Stop. Relax. Yeah, that was down in South Jersey. But like 3 years without a squat PR. Like you said it, bashing your head into the wall. What am I doing? Where now it would have been look at video, fix what needs to be fixed with better technical work and more dialed in accessories. But how do you learn that?
We thought we knew what we were doing back then. We had no clue.
We did. I hit a 24.65 total at 42, drug free, not even, a question of TRT, and thought that, 25 was going to happen, 26 was going to happen. And it was like, no, bro, you need to get better.
Yeah,
you need to be a better.
You got to taste the fruit, but that was it.
Say it again?
It's like you got to taste the fruit, but that was it. Like you got a lick of the watermelon, and then you're like, all right, buddy. Well, I mean, it's wild, man. It's like I remember, when, that was kind of when multiply powerlifting. That was kind of when multiply powerlifting was getting really, like, it was getting like more niche famous.
Yeah.
And some guys moving over and doing some different things. And I remember, guys would post these gym videos, and you'd think like, oh, they're going to do this. No, they're going to do that. No, they're going to do it. Like, I remember Brandon Lilly, God, this guy's going to squat 11, or he's going to do this, that, and the other. And you're like, and then he went and did a meet total like 23 something. And then you just went out there and blew it out of the, he outweighed you by 70 pounds, and you blew his total out of by like 135, 140 pounds. My God. Like, some of these guys really haven't, and it's like, I kind of never wanted to be that guy. I kind of never wanted to be the guy that's just like putting people on notice of what I'm going to do.
No.
Or just like,
no.
I try really hard to downplay. I've always tried really hard to downplay like what's next, and because like the stuff with, there's just so many variables with equip lifting, and I think that's what makes it more fun. It's like there's a little bit of the pressure's off you because you don't like, I mean, if you're strong enough to squat 700 raw, you probably should you should probably squat 700 raw. Like, there's not a whole lot of thought in raw, like whether or not it's going to be there unless you cut a ton of weight.
Right.
Unless you just have terrible programming.
Right. If you're not peaked or whatever.
Or you're taking a weight that's just, it's not something that's got a ability to be there for you.
Right, but usually if you're a if you're a 700-pound raw squatter and things are pretty standard as to how you went your entire prep, then most likely that 700 is going to be there on meet day.
Yeah, in some capacity. I mean, you
It,
definitely have business taking it,
of course,
but
but
the multiply deal is just it's a totally different animal.
I mean there's been times where I was peaked to hit 100 pounds over what I hit on the platform, and that's unfortunately that's sometimes how it works in gear.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I have been peaked twice to hit 100 pounds over what I have hit, and like
I have to.
One of the things that Dave Tate always says, like, when you hit your total, that'll be when you're good for, like, whatever total you think you're good for. You'll probably hit 75 to 100 pounds less than that most of the time.
I don't think, except maybe Dave's like 31-0 whatever number.
Yeah, I mean,
was.
people are going to have days.
People are going to have their perfect days, but like there's not a lot of them. There's not a lot of, at least now, or at least in the last couple of years, there haven't been a lot of 8 for 9 days.
No, and when it is, it's all pretty comfortable lifts that guys just use to build their total.
Right. And in my opinion, that and granted, there's been plenty of meets where I haven't been able to do this, but in my opinion, 6 for 6 should be comfortable.
The first,
your first 10 seconds should be relatively comfortable numbers. If you have a legitimate system in which you plan out your meet attempts,
if 6 for 6 and multiply powerlifting
should be 6 for 6 should be a 5-pound squat PR, 5-pound bench PR, 5-pound deadlift PR,
for sure,
roughly.
For sure.
And obviously, if there's kilos and
I don't think that's
a little bit more, a little bit less.
But I think 5-pound, a small PR is a definite good starting point. But to walk that back a quick step is like a 5-pound squat PR should be there from the last meet. So, like,
right.
You shouldn't be taking shit that 5 extra pounds is going to flatten you. So what you're really saying is you don't, like, you need to be taking weights that you have business taking.
Correct.
On seconds.
Correct.
And then if you want to take a third that you think might be there, it needs to be something that you definitely have business taking, but it might be a little bit more of a stretch. And I think that's where people, I think, miss. I mean, like, every second I've ever taken has been like, the only issue I've ever had is getting into depth. Like, can I execute? Can I execute it?
Can I execute it? I have business with this bar being on my back, this bar being in my hands.
On squat and bench, unless I just get really small or I'm just going down for too long, like, it's coming up.
Right.
Unless I get totally out of position. Like, it's like it, and it's going to come up fast. So for me, it's just and I think that, I see these guys take openers and I watch them and I was like, oh, there's a lot of effort there, buddy.
That's not what an opener should look like, my friend.
Yeah, I watch people take stuff in the warm-up room and I'm like, whoa. You're not wrong. It suits you. It suits you, Emily. But
I went 5 for 9 in all of my meets in 2022, so it happens.
But what I think happens is like, I mean, I see people do stuff and I see them take stuff in the warm-up room and I'm just like, whoa, Bubba.
Like, what are you doing there?
What are you going to do to that suit? Like, I see guys get like, I've seen guys get like 405 or like 315 to depth in their briefs. And I'm like, either you're really good at moving or you're going to have an interesting day, or
you better change that opener number, my friend.
Because, like, it's a weird deal, and I think that's a thing that I think that people miss on a lot is just kind of where I think a tip selection is, I think training and having the ability to look at how you move and where your deficiency are, and then pour effort into that. I think being able to have people that can tell you like you need to drop a mat on your box, you need to stop working the 3 boards, and you need to start getting to a lower board. I think people telling you that is important. You need to lock your deadlifts up and hold them. And that would be a big one for me, would have just been like, I wish that I would have listened to people who did know better and not just push stuff off because I felt like, because the bar will always, like, it's, like baseball, the deal is always like the ball doesn't lie. Well, like the bar and the white lights are not going to lie. And if you train in a shitty manner, you might get lucky, but eventually you're going to get exposed.
Eventually you're going to be exposed.
And
eventually you're going to get exposed, and it may not be at your local amateur meet or your local
backyard.
Yeah, your backyard meets.
Yard meets.
But when the time comes for you to actually get on a stage that matters,
that's true.
You're going to be exposed, and
the down command lies.
Say it again.
Sometimes the down command lies.
I mean, yeah. I mean, we're not going to call judging into question, but because
no, my point though is like it. For me, I wish that I would have been a little bit more receptive to criticism early in my career, because I wish that I would have known that I didn't know shit when I didn't really know shit. And that's the other thing is like, just because you can spout off and, Louis quotes and quotes out of the Book of Methods and this, that, and the other, like, that doesn't mean that you know how to powerlift. That means you know how to
read.
Yeah. And draw back knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Like you can flip a Tyler Childers song. What's up, DJ? You can flip a Tyler Childers song on, and I can sing every word of it. But it was actually Cody, Emily. He was here too. But I actually, like, just because you can recall lyrics to a country song doesn't make you a country music singer, and just because you can recall shit that Louis says doesn't mean that you can apply that to your own personal training and that of others and make them better and or yourself better. And that's something that I think people in this sport, and I am guilty, but I'm guilty in a different way than I think other people were, because like I wasn't out there trying to sell and tell other people how to do their stuff. That's not the kind of person that I am, but I was doing it with my own training. I was just like, this feels good, I'm going to do this, or I know better here, whereas I think, if I would have been more receptive to coaching and to people slowing me down and to criticism, for me to take a step back to people who had been, and it's what frustrates me to no end, and it's not just with powerlifting, it's with life stuff. Whether it's giving people, different types of advice in life, I'm just like, man, I've done that.
Life advice, baseball advice, lifting advice,
financial advice,
like,
dude, I get it, but like, I've done that shit before. Right. I made that mistake. I'm trying to tell you the position that I was in was eerily similar to the position that you were in, and like, you don't understand. And that's like one of the things that nobody ever talks about with Louis, is like, Louis torn his bicep 3 times. He's broke his back twice. He's torn his pec off. Like, if you see the guy, like, he has no bicep, he has no pec, he has no hamstring. He's broke his back 3 times. Like, and what he did was he took the knowledge that he learned to keep everybody else healthy. And like, people don't want to live. They want to go like, well, I'm going to do the conjugate system, but I'm going to do it this way. It's like, well, that's not intelligent, because the guy that has tried it every way under the sun with better lifters than you is telling you to do it this way. You're doing it this way. So like, when you get hurt, I used to have a guy that trains me all the time, and I would program deload weeks, and he would go like, I don't feel like deload. And I'm like, well, don't complain. 3 weeks in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And he would hurt himself, and I'd go like, I told you. We'd be doing like good mornings, and his back would go out. I'm like, I told you. You need some downtime. And I hate deloads more than anybody.
Yeah. But
So that would be a big one for me. And there's one other one, but I know you have one more. So,
and then the one thing that I said, one thing that I would have really have liked to have known was to take in as much information from people who have done it or doing what I want to be doing. Right? Like I don't now it's there's not very many people that I'll listen to or that I'll
really.
But for me, it's because how is someone going to tell me how to squat 1200 if they've never done it, right? That's where my brain immediately goes.
Sure.
10 years ago, different story, right? Because we weren't at the same level that we're at now. So I wish that
but I think you also know that you can be hard-headed.
Well, yeah.
And that's a major, I don't say a flaw, but in the past, that's been a barrier to your success. And when you've made your best gains is when you've kind of been able to receive information and put that, like when people have been able to convince you to do said thing.
Yeah.
That you need to do.
Right. But I think that's going to come, but the listening is going to come from the actual listening that people are going to do is going to come from their own trial and error.
Biases, yeah.
Their own biases, their own trial and error. So
and there's also like there's a bullshit detector too, and it's the crazy thing about this sport because in theory it makes sense to go like, well, if such person squats 100 pounds more than me, they must know what they're doing. But I know a lot of people squat 100 pounds more than me and don't know a damn thing about what they're doing. And doing training like I see some people do their training is a terrible idea. I also know people who squat less than me. I mean, I see people all the time and I'm like, man, if you could just get your training in line, you could do something really special, but they can't do it. They can't for one reason or the other. So like, I think that, it's like, and for me, the people that I like to get information from are people that have not just had success, but sustained success.
Just exactly. Success. Not a flash in the pan, not someone who's done it 2 or 3 times, someone who's done it 25, 26 times.
Yeah, and I think you have something to learn from everybody, but I also think that like the thought process that you have the right to tell that somebody has the right to tell you what you should be doing with yours. Like I tell you what I think you should be doing, but that's because I know exactly what you're doing. I know exactly what you've done. I know exactly what you've like. If you told me a year and a meet, I could tell you like how you were training leading up to that meet, what your mindset was, like what, because I've been invested in your training since 2012, 2011. So I know, like regardless of what my squat is, like I'm a smart guy. I know enough about training and I know what you're doing. But if I would never tell somebody on your level that I didn't know anything about the sport. Like I'm really cagey when it comes to stuff like that because like I don't feel like I have the right to tell people things about themselves in that manner. And it's crazy. It's a phenomenon in the raw deal. Like you see these guys who coach people, and I'm like,
it's crazy.
Where's your muscles?
Like where are your muscles? Where are your muscles? Why
Did
are
you leave them in the car? Or are there any muscles whatsoever? Like where are your muscles? And that's where like I give a shout out to some of those, and I know some of them you don't particularly like, but like, I do have a certain level of respect for some of those raw guys that have done it, even if it's not.
Oh no, hold on. I'm never gonna take away what certain lifters have done on the platform. That's different,
Yeah.
That is totally and should be totally irrelevant.
But like if you list like the top 10 raw coaches, I mean, you're gonna throw a Jaffe out there, you're gonna throw a Garrett Fear out there, and like say what you want about those guys, but like those guys do have respectable totals. Those guys do have respectable raw. I mean, Jaffe's got a world record. He's got like I actually personally I don't have a problem with him. He's always been straight to me. I have a problem with some of the things that Garrett Fear does and says, but he still has like 1,900 pound raw total at under 181 pounds, 198 pounds. It's a good total.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, he still pulled 8. He still benched in the 4s, and he still squatted in the high 6s or 7s with the body weight at 190 pounds. It's impressive. But then you see some of these other people, man, it's like, you don't have any muscles. You don't have any lifts. You don't have anything. And I'm like, why are you listening? And then you get these people who do training with people who aren't even powerlifters. Like, they don't even powerlift. It would be like me going to LeBron James and asking him how to play golf.
But it happens all the time. It happens all the time. People do it all the time. It's
unbelievable. So I think a bullshit detector, that was a word that we used a lot when there's a certain level of that you need to, I think you need to read, and I think you need to talk to people that you trust, and I think you need to gather information that you can use. And then I think you just need to shut your mouth and pay attention and build a bullshit detector and understand why some things work and why some, because like people have a problem with the way that you train or the way that I train, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, the raw is the law and bands and chains are bullshit, but like, when I started hooking bands and chains to the bar, my bench has gone up 100 pounds, my squat's gone up 150 pounds, and my deadlift has gone up. So like, how are you going to tell me that the way that I train doesn't work? Like, the proof's in the pudding. So, it'd be one thing if I was getting hurt all the time or my client, but like, so I think it kind of goes both ways, where people get dogmatic about their own shit, but they forget about the fact that like they get so emotional and dogmatic about their own shit that they cannot take an objective view of what's actually happening in front of them and then utilize that to make themselves better lifters. And that's a sad thing.
Well, I think that people don't do a very good job of self-diagnosis, self-evaluation, looking at themselves and what they're doing. I think that people don't do that very, very well now or in the past, but I think now so even more. And I think that the only reason that people do things now is to post on the internet, as opposed to being better, making themselves better.
Well, it's an interesting concept, because the one thing that's happening is there's more people in powerlifting, but people are coming into powerlifting with no athletic background, so they've never been coached. And they never just had somebody just go like, you don't know what you're talking about. Shut up and listen. That is the best thing that happened to me in baseball. It's just like, people that I respected were just like, you don't know what you're talking about. Shut up and do this. Throw the baseball like this. Hit the baseball like that. Field the baseball like this. Go to the gym and do this. Get more flexible. Eat better. Like, do these things, and you do them, and you're like, oh shit, that works.
Oh shit, that works. And how did that person know that? Because he or she probably did it already.
Yeah, or they've been around people who coached it and
right.
Whatever, like Bill Belichick thing. And it's like, I think that people, they're just so afraid of criticism that they can't stomach being told that their limited knowledge base isn't what they think it is, and so they cut themselves off from people who could help them.
Right, where those people are going to be the most helpful, the most beneficial to your longevity, to your success.
Yeah, I mean, the second that you think you can't learn something, or that there's only a certain type of people that you can learn from, like, you're dead.
In whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
In whatever avenue that you want to talk about.
You're dead. You're dead in the water. I mean, Louis was the perfect example of that. Like, Lou knows more about powerlifting and strength and how to train people than anybody. I mean, he literally had a lab. I mean, Westside Barbell was a lab. It was an experimental deal. And he would bring people in. And if you look at the evolution of just speed work, 10 doubles was 70%, 10 doubles was 60%, 12 doubles were 60% in bands, 12 doubles were 50% in bands. Add the chains. Do this. Now it's 5x5s. The deadlift was 6 singles at 70%. Then the deadlift was this. Now the deadlift recommendation is something totally different. And like, if Louis not dogmatic, you damn sure shouldn't be, because he's read everything there is to read and talked to everybody there is to talk to and paid attention to everything that he's supposed to pay attention to. So if he's not married to his own ideas, for better or for worse, and he's willing to learn something from somebody, then
there's always something to learn. But in certain top, like, there's always something that you can do better. You can always, you, me, anyone,
sure,
can always do whatever it is that you're talking about better.
100%.
No one is a perfect lifter. No one has a perfect squat, a perfect bench, a perfect deadlift, right? There are people who are, close, but no one is perfect. So everyone.
Yeah, but those people still miss.
Of course. But everyone can learn. Everyone can perfect their craft.
100%.
Whether it's geared lifting, whether it's raw lifting, whether you're in sleeves, whether you're in wraps, whether you're single ply unlimited, it's irrelevant how you're doing it. But I think that everyone can benefit from taking a step backwards and looking at themselves to see where they can change things, make small minor tweaks to better either their performance on meet day, their performance leading up to meet day, their body composition, their health, their hormone levels, all of it can be.
Yeah, when you go to big meets, what do you see in the back? People asking questions like, I saw you doing this, why are you doing this? What are you doing? What did you do? What are you running? What are you wearing? How are you orienting your shirt? What are you doing with your hands? What are you doing with your collar? What are you doing with your triceps? What are you doing with your straps? What are you doing with your strings? What are you pulling?
If you look at any sort of high quality, high caliber, high level meet versus a local amateur, meet, you're talking about two totally different situations, two totally different environments.
100%.
When you talk about a high level equipped meet, you are talking about people who are bouncing ideas back and forth in the warm-up room against people who they're competing against.
100%. Yeah, I'm gonna hit you up on Instagram and take a look at this for you.
Hey, you know how many times during deadlift warm-ups people were like, hey, asking me questions or having me look at warm-ups, like trying to learn something on meet day in the warm-up room. Oh, yeah. It's gonna rain. Let's go rain down there.
It's raining already. But yeah, you're 100%. I mean, I've seen it. I mean,
but then you look at a local meet.
Holy shit, that's Henry Thomason. He's asking Chris about the deadlift, and he's like got a chance to win the meet.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But then you look on the other side of the spectrum at people who have been in the sport for 2 minutes at
or like headphones on, staring at people, snarling.
Just want nothing to do with anyone, no questions. It's their way. They no other deviation from that.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about multiply meets is like everybody goes out to the platform to look and see what people are doing. Like I want to see what's Chris taking, what's Andy taking, what's Alan taking, pick it. Everybody is so like willing and because it's like they want to see if this thing is becoming, if the thing that you're doing or the thing that I asked you about, is it working? Is it playing out on the platform?
Because that's and that's another thing that people miss. That's where it's the most important.
It doesn't matter if your shit looks good in training, but trash on the platform. Then
your results on the platform are in this sport are the only thing that matter.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know what else you can gauge, at least in this arena. It's your numbers, right? So if you're not doing the things to better those numbers, or you're not taking in information or taking in knowledge to better yourself, and you're just going to be hard-headed and ignore everything, and that it's that way or the only way, I don't see that person being around for a while.
Yeah, and if you're not willing to swallow your pride and leave no stone unturned either.
Right.
If you're just going like, nah, I don't have anything to learn from this guy. I mean, most of the people that I have talked to, like, I mean, I've had, like, this is no joke, and I am a terrible. I've had Jimmy Cole, like, literally message me and go like, when I used to post all my accessories, and he'd be like, "That's a really good tricep exercise. I'm gonna start doing that. Like, that's really cool." Like, Jimmy Cole, like, I'm benching like 295 raw. He's benching 950 in a shirt, and he like sees the tricep exercise, and he's like, I mean, if you don't like, I mean, what do you think? You think that like Tom Brady doesn't think he has to listen to Bill Belichick? I mean, people are just, they're very, they the no stone is a good lightning strike. The no stone unturned thing is just, it's crazy to me. It's really, really crazy to me. And the dogmaticness that people have with regards to what they think and who, and it's all a view of like, I think it comes, I really genuinely, I think it comes from a lack of self-esteem and a lack of self-confidence for people. Because I think that, you know, they say, well, if I have to ask such and such for advice, how could I, like, how can I beat them? Like, well, I don't know, man. Like, maybe you should just try and get as good as you can and then just see who you can beat. Like, people are really concerned, with who their, like, where their competitive state is when they're 300 pounds away from their genetic potential. Like, I don't really care who I beat when I total 2,200. I'm interested to see who I can beat when I total 2,500.
Right.
Like, if I beat you at 2,200, like, you're a very good powerlifter. You're a very good powerlifter, but but you could be a very good powerlifter, but like, you're not top of the world. And, like, I don't have any like misgivings about being, one of the best powerlifters of all time, but I do think that it's in the cards for me to be very competitive in a couple of years. And for me, it's like, I don't really care. Like, I'm only interested in the trajectory going this way.
Right. So. But I think that lack of self-confidence is why people can't look internally or at themselves
100%.
and make the necessary changes or figure out what the best alternative is to what they're doing to be better.
Yeah.
What up, Phil?
Yeah, I mean, it's like it takes some humility and humbleness to be willing to ask advice. It's like, you go to PGA Tour and you watch those guys around the chipping green, and they're asking guys like, how do you chip? What do you do? Talk about your putter stroke, or what are you doing for this or for that, or how are you drawing your driver? It's like, I saw a deal the other day where John Rahm, who's by far the best golfer, one of the best 2 or 3 golfers in the world, and he's getting pitching and chipping lessons from Phil Mickelson, who everybody hates, but like, Phil Mickelson is the best.
He's got the best short game in the world.
Get the best short game in the history of golf. It's like, why would you just go like, I don't like that guy, so I'm not going to get it? Like, what? Like, if you had an opportunity to talk to David Hoff about how to program the squat to be your best in 10 years, why the hell would you not do that?
Why would
that guy's been the best, one of the best 3 powerlifters in the world for 15 straight years? What? Because you don't like him? I don't know, man. That's silly to me. But what is your last one that you were going to touch on, or is it my turn?
I forgot. Make it your turn.
I would have gotten gear quicker. You got in gear because that's what powerlifting was.
Yeah, but I had a raw base. It wasn't like,
well, you had a football base.
I had a football base, right?
But like, when you got into powerlifting, there was no
raw. It
was just power.
Raw lifting. Like, when I started competing, it was inverted. The minority were the raw lifters. So if there were 50 lifters on the roster, there were 40 geared lifters. lifters, or 40 equipped lifters and 10 raw lifters.
Yeah.
Now it's the other way around at most local meets.
Oh, at most meets, period.
At most meets, right. So I don't know if that is one for me.
I think that if I would have learned how to manipulate the gear better, I chased some of the raw stuff way too much too early.
Phil said, do you think kids nowadays are getting into gear too soon? They have no raw strength and squatting like 5. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't
have gotten into gear when I was like squatted 650 or 600, but like when I got my raw squat into the low to mid 5s, I probably would have started putting a suit on. Like a couple, I would have said like maybe in 17, 16, maybe in 2016 would have been when I would have made the jump for 15 instead of 20.
I think that's it's twofold, because if you're going to get into gear early, it's not necessarily a problem as long as your raw strength is building.
You're not just doing it to say I'm squatting 700
Correct.
pounds when like really only squatting 400.
Correct. Where
what you're saying is that I made very good jumps in gear because of my base that I built raw.
Anyone that has a strong, just a good foundational strength level, and that's going to vary from person to person, but anyone that has a good foundation should be able to get into gear and be able to manipulate their body and manipulate the gear and make things look good. And if you can do that, I don't think it necessarily matters how strong you are. So I have a girl. She's done one meet. She's done one meet in her first meet ever was in gear. She had never put on gear before, and she was a friend of Rob's, and he started dragging her in, and she was like, I want to do a meet. I want to do a geared meet. And we were like, all right, cool. And her entire training was twofold. It was to bring up her raw foundational strength, but then also make sure that her geared lifts looked pretty, right? Because if you're able to move weight and it look good, that means that you're not hitting your ceiling. That means that there's still room for growth. Yeah. So in my opinion, I don't think there's necessarily a number or there's necessarily a time.
I think it's time under the bar. I think it's time under the bar. If you make raw squats look good, you have no business being.
But I think it all comes back to, can you maneuver or can you manipulate your body correctly? Are you strong enough to move properly? Yeah. Right? Yeah. So if you're 200 pounds and you're moving 405, because that's what Phil said, is that should you be in gear? I don't want to say no, because I don't want to tell anyone that they shouldn't get in gear.
No, but I would say it depends on how that 405 looks.
It depends how that 405 looks.
If that 405 looks like what I look like when I squat a 405, you're not ready for gear.
No, but even if that person is squatting 405 in gear, right? That means, what's their raw strength? Call it 225. So they're getting 180 pounds, whatever, out of their suit. It is 225 anything to write home about? Is 405? No, but that person at that level has a 225 pound squat. Whether that's impressive or not, that's what they squat, and it looks good. So if they want to put on some gear, and now that 225 pound squat turns into a 405 pound squat, but it looks good, I don't care.
No, I agree.
I think it matters.
But if you look like a baby giraffe,
it matters not one bit, in my opinion, the number, the weight on the bar. I
agree.
It doesn't, and it's never mattered in terms of in terms of coaching, at least. Like, obviously, weight on the bar matters to me in terms of my numbers.
Yeah, but no, I agree with you.
But
If you can't move well raw, or you're endangering everybody if you hop into gear.
yes,
And you're not ready. Because
if
the
you
only thing that matters in gear, I mean, strength matters, but the way that you move and
the way that you move and the way that you control yourself matters more, and the way that you can maneuver your body. So there has to be
comes from time under the bar.
Say that again.
Stability comes from time under the bar.
Correct.
So I don't necessarily think it's as much of a weight thing as it's have you the experience of, you know, and for somebody it might be 6 months because they might have a huge athletic background like you did and take the gear. And for some people, you know, it might take them 5 years.
So perfect example, and this had nothing to do with my athletic background. I started training when I was a freshman in high school, right? The end of my freshman year, I squatted 405. Now, that's not, did it look good? Probably not, but I was just able to take everything in that I was learning and accelerated that quickly. Right now, am I saying that because I squatted 405, I then should have gotten into gear when I was
squatted 6?
15 years old, or, you know, when I squatted 6? No, absolutely not. But if you take that same person and that 405 squat looks good and they're able to control themselves and they're able to move the way that they should be moving under weight, then I don't have a problem with that person getting into gear.
I call it like motor bigger than the chassis. You know what I mean? Like they've got a 700-pound horsepower motor in a Prius, and like you know, you see these people and like the horsepower that they're able to put into the barbell, but they don't have the stability to be able to keep the barbell, you know, where it needs to be. And so it's like, you know, benching. My wrists aren't strong enough. Well, if you're benching like this in a shirt, you're going to need a good dentist.
Oh, you sure are.
You know what I'm saying? And if your natural deal is to lose your upper back in a squat, raw, like the gear doesn't keep you upright. It will help. The proprioception of the gear will help keep you upright, but it doesn't keep you upright.
If you don't have the muscles to keep you upright, it doesn't matter how much gear you put on.
Muscles are good.
Muscles are good. Muscles are good to have.
Yeah. So I think it's more, you know, and I don't think some people are ready for the pressure. I think the pressure is a lot for people.
Oh, I mean, there's nothing like the pressure of a full suit multiply squat. Like no one
the bench.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like a third attempt type setup where, you know,
you can't see. The only thing that you can hear, and everybody's moving and screaming, the only thing you can hear is just like, please say up.
Please say up, or please say press.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
it's like, I don't know, like, and it's like people kind of joke around at meets. They're like, why is everybody yelling? It's like, because you've never had 105% in your hands with your shirt jacked to where you can't, you're seeing white. You can hear nothing. You know, I mean, you had to like wake Mike up to stand up with 1,000, like, because, you know, he's under pressure for 7 seconds.
Right.
It's crazy.
You know, it is.
Like,
it
people
is.
aren't ready for that.
No, and even having a raw base doesn't make you ready for that.
No, but being in shape does.
100%. 100
does.
Absolutely.
You know, being able to do, you know, a heavy set of 5 or 6 or 7 or 8, which is, you know, being able to do those things, being in shape, being able to cut your rest periods down and bang out multiple sets of squats and deadlifts and benches, and being able to train your body to move and to handle pressure and to output strength over the course of 3 to 5 to 7 seconds.
Right.
That is a big deal, and people miss on that.
100%.
You can't just like rip singles raw and then throw a suit on, you know, because a raw single takes 2 seconds, a gear single takes 6 or 7, or if you're me, 14. So, that's why Louis, that's why the original deal
The
What?
original reason was because of how long it takes
Yeah,
for
the doubles on squat and triples on squat that's how long a geared squat should take. The triples on bench is how long a geared bench takes. So you have to train yourself to be under load for that period of time. And deadlift's kind of the same, but that's a big deal for people. So like you do have to be in shape, and your body has to be prepared to output. So I'm about to lose my phone, so let's say our goodbyes.
Well, I mean, we already went at 36 minutes over.
Aaron was right. I thought we were going to wrap this up pretty quick, and this has been our longest one.
Yeah, I mean, whatever.
Good to see you.
Yeah. Yes, my friend.
I need a deadlift for tomorrow. So.
What was last week?
I'm working sumo the whole way, but it was 2 inches versus purple, monster mini, and red.
So that's what? Light, monster, mini?
Yeah.
You have 2 lights?
No, but I can get close to that.
2 lights
would be a blue.
You have 2 minis?
Yeah, I got 2 minis.
You have an average?
Yeah, I got. The only thing I don't have is multiple of the bigger bands.
Go average 2 minis each side.
Doubles,
raw, singles when your brief's going.
And I'm going off 2 inches.
Drop down to 1. Andy's frozen. I think we lost Andy. I guess we'll have to text Andy his deadlift workout. All right, guys. For everyone who's here, thank you for actually hanging out with us. Moving forward, we would appreciate some extra questions. So if you guys could send those along, that'd be great. We want to answer the questions that you guys have and not just have us talk to each other for an hour and a half. But thank you for everyone who stayed around to hang out. This is, of course, the State of the Union, sponsored by Andy's gone. So the Go Hard Barbell, BCB Training Systems, and Wicked Wolf Beard Co. We will be back next week, and moving forward, we'll probably be good for Monday nights at 7:30. So mark your calendars. We're not going anywhere. Bye, guys. Thanks for tuning in.